let's discuss what is encapsulation, right? Can anyone tell me what is encapsulation? If somebody have ever read about it or does know anything about it, that what is encapsulation? How can we achieve it? Uh, what are the benefits of achieving it, right? Anyone in the class? Okay, binding data. Okay, so if you bind data, what did you achieve by binding? Right? There should be something behind it. If you are binding data, what exactly are you trying to achieve? Okay, that's correct, but that's binding data only. Right? Can anyone tell me what exactly are we? Okay, protection. Okay, correct. So it's a kind of a thing which basically gives us a protective shield kind of a thing, right? Okay, hidden from the other classes. Good, good. Okay, hiding the values. Okay, well, good enough. Correct. So this is what the encapsulation does, right? So basically, what encapsulation? If you see in the diagram, right? It's basically we are binding the things and putting it inside the some kind of a shield, which is a protective shield, which doesn't let your powder go out, right? And this is what the capsule does. So that's why we are binding inside the capsule, and this is the reason it is called as an encapsulation, right? So encapsulation is defined as the wrapping of the data within a single unit. It is a mechanism that binds together the code and the data it manipulates. Another way to think about the encapsulation, it is a protective shield that prevents the data from being accessed by the code outside the field, right? So how do we achieve encapsulation? If that's okay, I know that is a data binding, correct? The second thing, we get to know that it is hidden from the other classes. Is there a way we can hide variables from the other classes? How should we hide the variables from other classes? Or how should we restrict other classes to not access the variables of this class? Right? We have discussed something like this. Any ways you can think about the access modifier things, right? Which access modifier we should use so that the other classes cannot access the variables defined in this class. Okay, correct. So what exactly we can do? We can make the data private. Okay, so let's try to understand it, right? So we make the data as a private. So data, let's say there is a class, right? There is a class A. Okay. It has a private variable. Let's say private int A is equals to 0, right? Or maybe we can give the colon as well. Private int variable B is also equals to 0, right? But I want to access this variable now, right? I have given the encapsulation condition. I know that this variable cannot be accessed outside the class. But what is the purpose of making this variable if I cannot access it outside the class? There should be a way to access it outside the class as well. So what is the way I can access it? Can anyone tell me? How should I access this variable outside the class? Is there anyone who still has doubt why we can't access this variable? Let's say if I have a class min, right? And I create an object of a class. So there is a obj is equals to new, right? A, we have created an a class object, right? After that, I want to access a variable a, but this will throw me a compilation error. The reason behind that it will say that this is a private variable which cannot be accessed outside the class. Okay, good. So there should be a way to access this variable because I know this is a variable which should be accessed outside the class. Yeah. How about others? Do you guys can suggest me anything? Correct. Okay, so the what should be the access modifiers for the function if I create one? Can it be private? Can I write a method like this? Private, right? Private get a, and it will just return the value of a. Can I write it like it? Is it correct? Or maybe to be more precise, like this. Or should it be public? Or it really doesn't matter. It can be any one of those. Right? I want to access this method outside this class. Should I make it public? Should I make it private? Or it really doesn't matter whatever you do it. Guys, anyone? Okay, great, no issues. So guys, just to give it a shot, right? What exactly we should do it? If we want to access this method outside the class, then definitely it should always be a public method. There is no chance that it can be private because if I made it private, right, again I will get into the same trouble that how will I access this variable outside the class, right? So your answers are correct. How can we access it? The using only the getter and the setter methods. We need to create the getters and the setter method. After creating a getter and a setter method, only we will be able to access these variables, right? So encapsulation can be achieved by declaring all the variables in the class as a private and writing the public methods. Just keep in mind, these are the two important things, right? Variables in the class as a private and writing the public method in the class to setter or the get the values of the variable, right? So we are not allowing other class to access directly the variables, but we are giving a functions which you can access it and with which you can get the values and set the values as well, right? So let's have a look how exactly it is being implemented, right? So this is an example we have taken that just to understand that what exactly the encapsulation works, how it works internally. Right, so encapsulation is one of the four fundamental OOPS concept. There are the three others, which is basically inheritance, polymorphism. Apart from that, we have abstraction. Encapsulation in the Java is a mechanism of wrapping the data and the code acting on the data together as a single unit. In encapsulation, the variables of a class will be hidden from the other classes, can be accessed through the methods of the current class. Therefore, it is also known as a data binding. This is what we have discussed so far. Right? What should we do to achieve an abstraction? So, encapsulation. So there are the two things we have to do: declare a variables of a class as a private, and provide the public getter and the setter methods to modify and view the variables. Right? So let's say we have taken it as an example. We have three variables: string name, string id num. The type of the id should be a string, and age we should take it as a string. Right? So public int get age will basically return me the age. Right? Get age, get name, get id, and to set the values I'm using a set age. Right? There is no restriction that you have to use these names only because the people might get confused, but these are generally called as a getter and a setter method, right? If you write it something else too, and if you are using that function, that will also work, right? So the public set something and the get something methods are the access points of the instance variable of the uncapped classes. Normally these variables are referred as a getters and a setter. Therefore, any class wants to access the variables should access them through the getters and a setter method. And this is how we should be able to access it, right? The name of the class, which is basically nCap test. So nCap test, we have created an object of that class. With that object, I can access anything, whatever I want, right? So if I want to set the values of this, I can set it. After setting it, if I want to get the values of this, I can get the values as well, right? What exactly we are achieving from this? The fields of a class can be made read only or the write only, right? A class can have total control over what is stored inside the fields, right? And at the same time, it provides a protection as well to the variables. Okay, so I hope no doubts in the encapsulation. Quite easy thing. Just just two things you need to remember, which is first the variable name should be private, the method name should be public. Any doubts, guys? Okay. If no, I have a couple of questions on the interface. Can you try to answer it? Just tell me which of these options are correct and which of these options are wrong. Yesterday we have discussed encapsulation in detail. Let's see how many of you get it correct. Okay, good. Good. Guys, even if you have small doubt or anything, keep posting on the chat. Okay, only 3 is correct. Okay, first is wrong. Okay. Guys, it is a multiple choice question. So one or more than one answer can be correct. Okay, 2 and 3 are correct. Okay, let's see. Okay, 3 and 4 are correct. How about 1? Just think about it, what we discussed in the last class. And if this is wrong, right? You tell me that, okay, this statement is wrong, and why it is wrong, the reason behind it. Right? Correct. Okay, interface has no bodies. Okay, so just to give a quick recap what we discussed in the last class, let me just open if I have. I guess it was 18, right? Correct. So let's have a look, and let's have a look at the MCQ as well. Right? So let's talk about the first option. An interface can contain the following type of members. right? Public static final fields, which is basically for the constant. What is written over here? All the methods are the public and abstract. All of the fields are the public static final, right? So I agree the interface doesn't have anything, but it does have the fields, right? It does have the constant. It does have an abstract method, which is by default abstract, right? These are the things which the interface should have. All the methods are the public and abstract, right? You don't have to define it explicitly. That's a property of an interface which will give automatically, right? So an interface can contain the following type of a thing. The question says default static methods with the bodies. Right? So we may have a bodies inside it, right? Okay. And regarding to this option, the public static final, which is by default public static, right? Okay. How about the second option? Can we create an instance of an interface? Correct. So there is no need for instance of create. Correct. Okay. Okay, so the doubt here is whether the first is wrong. Okay. Okay, let me just double check whether we can create it or not. Okay. Meanwhile, let's check it out over here itself, right? Even I'm not very sure about it that it can have the bodies or not, but as far I know, it should have it. Is there any example? Maybe we can have a look. Correct, it does have it. Okay, I will check on it and let you know on this. Correct. Like the abstract, correct. Abstract method doesn't have a body. That's I totally agree with you. Even I got doubt when I see this, the method with the bodies. But how about the second one? I will check on this and let you know, guys. Right? A class can implement a multiple interfaces. Correct. Second is wrong. Second is for sure wrong. We cannot create an instance. Right? A class can implement a multiple interface. Yes, this is absolutely correct. The reason behind that is, let's say we have a class A and we want to implement some multiple interface. That's absolutely possible, right? We can implement as many interface as we want. Many class can implement the same interface. Yes, interface gives an advantage of doing that as well. That's the purpose of an interface, because we can interface as many as number of as many as classes can implement the same interface, right? So if I have the class A, right, that can also implement class let's say B is an interface, assumingly, right? So if there is a class B as well, that can also implement the same, right? Assuming it's kind of a car A you have created, right? And this is a normal car, so definitely we can implement this as well. Is in the but I will check on it. Okay, but this is correct. This is for sure correct. Default and static method, this is also correct, but with the body, we are not sure. Okay, so can you guys try to answer this? Okay, 20. Okay, guys, be careful. Just have a look at the function names as well as the modifiers. Okay, great. So this is a question, and we have defined an abstract class, which is a demo class. There is a method, which is there is a variable which we have it as a public. Within this, we have a constructor defined with the which basically we are using to initializing the value of an a, which is a will be initialized 10, right? Apart from that, we have an abstract public method which is set, right? Other than this, we have an abstract final public method which is get, right? So if we are using a final method, that might take us into the trouble, right? because the final method cannot be overridden. We will learn about the more in terms of what is overridden, but let's have a look, right? Test obj, we are creating an object. Test obj is equals to the new test. So we have created an object for the test class, which is basically this. Till here it is working fine. Obj.set20, if I call this function set20, which is basically take me the parameter as a 20, this dot a is equals to a. So basically the value of an a becomes 20, right? But when I'm trying to get the values, right? So this function, since this function is a final, it will throw me an error saying that the final methods cannot be overridden. Right? Since the method is defined as a final, it cannot be overridden. And that's the reason abstract function can't be final. Right? Any doubts, guys? Any doubts? Okay. Okay, great. So can we quickly move on to the polymorphism in which we are going to discuss what is exactly the overriding, what is exactly overloading, how exactly do we achieve it, what are the... Okay, once again. Okay, no issues. Guys, so basically what exactly we are doing over here is we have defined a method which is again a final one, right? So final method cannot be overridden. So what exactly we are doing? Whatever the definition we gonna write inside it, right? That's the same definition we have to write when we are extending a class, which is a demo class, right? So we have written a set method, which is all good because the access modifier of this is a public and it is not a final as well. But when the call comes over here, right, which is basically a final public void get method, if it has a final public void get method, so we need to override this as well because this is a property of an abstract class. But abstract methods cannot be the final ones. Otherwise, because the final methods cannot be overridden, we are trying to override the value, we are trying to override the function, which will throw me an exception. That's saying that, right, final methods cannot be overridden. Is that clear now? So if I remove final from here, it will work fine now. Right? I need to remove from both the places because the abstract function has to be the same. Right? The only problem which was causing by this final keyword. Is that clear, guys? Okay, great. So the word polymorphism, okay. Can anyone tell me what is polymorphism? We have discussed just in the bit, right? Today or maybe tomorrow also we'll be discussing into the details. Correct, good. Many forms, correct. So it's basically represents the many forms. The word polymorphism means having the many forms. In the simple word, we can define the polymorphism as the ability of a message to be displayed in more than one form. Real life example of a polymorphism, a person at the same time can have a different characteristic, like a man at the same time is a father, is a husband, or it can be an employee as well. For the same person possesses a different behavior in a different situation, and that is called as a polymorphism. Right? Polymorphism is considered one of the... Okay, good. If we extend the abstract class, should we override all the methods like we do in the interface? Yes, we have to. Whatever the abstract methods we have to define those. Right? If a method is not abstract, we don't have to take care about it because the abstract class may have the normal methods as well. Right? That's why it's not an 100%. Okay, good. Real life example of a polymorphism we have discussed, right? A polymorphism is considered one of the important feature of object oriented programming. Polymorphisms allow us to perform a single action in the different ways. In the other words, the polymorphisms allow us to define an interface and having multiple implementation. The word poly means the many and the morphs means forms, right? So let's have a look at it in the Java, right? We do have a two kind of a polymorphism. One is a compile time, other one is a runtime. What is a compile time polymorphism? It is also known as a static polymorphism. This type of a polymorphism is achieved by function overloading or operator overloading, but the Java doesn't support operator overloading. Right? So we only left out with the function overloading. Now let's have a look what is exactly the function overloading. Right? So if you have a look, this is basically an overloading and this is basically an overriding. Right? Overloading means you should have the same function name, but it can have the different params inside it. Right? There might be a change in the number of attribute, there might be a change in the number of params, whatever it can have. Right? It's just give me a minute. Sorry guys, got some urgent call. Okay, so this is basically an overloading and this is we have it is an overriding. Right? Method overloading, when there are the multiple functions with the same name but with the different parameters and these functions are said to be the overloaded. The functions can be overloaded by changing in the number of arguments, right? By changing in the type of the arguments. Let's say we do have an int a over here, we do have a char a over here, right? So basically it will take the integer as an argument, it will take a character as an argument. So if it is taking integer and a character as an argument, that's also we called it as an overloading. Okay. So can you guys quickly tell me the answer for this one? Okay. Here exactly we are trying to achieve the method overloading by defining the two functions with the same name. Guys, that should have the identical name as similar as this. Okay, but there can be a difference in the parameters. Okay. Okay, 8 and somewhere around. Just maybe you can just tell me that it should be the product of two numbers as easy as that. It's also fine for me because we are not here doing the math. We are just trying to figure out the things. Okay, good, good. Guys, can you quickly try to answer the poll as well, which is shown on your screens? Right. And if you guys have any suggestions, right, that okay, we will be able to get more understanding in that way. So maybe you can put in the chat section. So I will have a look at it. Okay, great. So basically, it's as simple as that. Whenever we are calling this function, it will check what type of it is, right? If it's an integer type, it will send it over here. Even we could have written like a plus b over here, so it would have been added these two numbers. Correct. So the answer would be first in the first case, it would be multiplication of two. So since here also we do have a multiplication of these two, so it really doesn't matter what exactly we are doing. But the answer would, but this function will call, definitely this function is going to be get called when we are calling this. Right? Let's try to answer this. Right? We can have a different number of arguments. Okay. Okay, 8 and 42. Okay, good. Correct. So the answer would be as easy like the multiplication of these two numbers, because we do have a same function, right? And we want to just multiply these two numbers. And apart from this, if we have the three numbers, it will multiply these three numbers. Is it possible if one method is static and other is final with the same name? I don't think so it would be possible, because it's the final method cannot be overridden, right? Okay, sorry, not final but public. You mean with the same name? No, the modifier should be the same. If it has to be the public, it should be public in both the sides, right? If it is a default static modifier, it should be default, right? And if you are talking about the runtime polymorphism, maybe we'll discuss more on that. That's a different case in the runtime polymorphism, but for the overloading, it's it should be the same, identical. Okay. Okay, let's have a look at the runtime polymorphism. So it is also known as the dynamic method dispatch. It is a process in which a function called to be overridden method is resolved at the runtime. The type of a polymorphism is achieved by method overriding. Is any doubts? Any other doubts before we move on to the runtime polymorphism? Okay. Method overriding, on the other hand, occurs when a derived class has a definition for one of the member function of the base class, and that base class is said to be the overridden, right? So if we have a look at the example, there is no example, right? So maybe this will get a more clarity what exactly you guys were asking, right? So can you guys try to answer this one? Easy question, guys. We have discussed it. It's basically we are trying to achieve the overloading. Will it be possible to achieve overloading over here? If yes, what would be the answer? Okay, error. Okay, good. Compile time error. Why it will give the compile time error? Okay, same method name, same method, same parameters. Correct. Correct. So definitely it's going to give a compile time error, and the reason behind that is for the method overloading, the method must have a different signature. Return type of the method does not contribute towards the different method signature. So this above code will give the compilation error. Both getData1 and the getData2 only differ in the return types, not in the signature. Right? So let's run it and see what exactly error it throws. Okay. Okay, so it says the get data is already defined in the class. We cannot have it like it. Okay, if I make it int, will it work? If there is an error, what error it would be? If there is no error, why no? Okay, will it return 1? Is there anyone who says error as well? Or all of you agree with the 1? Okay, runtime error. Correct, 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 correct. Let's have a look. Correct. So it says, because let's think about the compiler, right? You have an object, you defined an object, you are calling a get data method, right? So how your compiler will determine that which get data should it call, right? There is an ambiguity. Correct, there is an ambiguity that how your compiler will determine that, okay, I need to call this one or this one, because both of these are identical. So your compiler will get confused and it will throw you an error. Correct. So what exactly you need to do is you can define something, a parameter over here, right? If you define something like int a or somewhere, it will work then, right? You need to define a variable as well, then only it will work, because there shouldn't be an ambiguity. Good. Okay, maybe we can discuss that. Correct. So this was the question someone asked. Can someone try to answer this? Okay, GFG. Okay, why GFG? Correct. Quite straightforward. Because we do have a private function which is basically a type of, which will basically type of a string. Okay, and it is returning me a GFG. Correct. Another function we have, public final static string function, which accepts the parameter as a data. So since we are calling an object dot function, which is basically this function, so it will directly return the GFG. Access modifiers with the method doesn't determine the criteria for overloading. The overloading method could also be declared as a final or static without affecting the overloading criteria. Okay, what should be the answer for this one? Instead of private, we can can we use public? Where are you talking about? Here in this question? Correct. Yes, we can make use of a public as well. Guys, if you guys have any doubts, maybe we can edit the question at the same time and get clarified, right? Is it the question number 4 you are talking about? Correct, we can make it public as well, right? So the answer is correct. It's a geek for geeks. If you want, let's make it public as well. Right, let's see. Correct. So there is no effect on the answer, whether you made it private, whether you made it public. The reason behind that is you are still inside the same class. You are not going out of the class. Okay, again, an easy question. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so guys, I need a one suggestion over here. How should we proceed further? Should we take the arrays question and the string question on the priority? Because I have seen most of you guys struggle with these questions, right? So maybe we can uh, gradually increase the level of the question, and we'll start with the easy questions, and after that we can discuss the moderate, and we'll go till the higher level in that, right? So maybe we can have some lectures on the arrays and string. What do you guys say? Or maybe we can quickly conduct a poll if you guys have 4 minutes. Because if you see at the level of the competitive coding, what exactly they ask is more or less based on the arrays or string. So I'm ending this poll for now. Correct. So exactly, this is going to be the combination. This is not going to be a solo concept, right? Yeah. Okay. Maybe we can conduct a poll in the next class, right? So guys, any other queries or any other doubts you guys have? Right? That's the reason we are discussing directly taking the question from the Geeks for Geeks. So we won't miss out any of the topics, whatever we have. Even if they are asking the combination, we should be able to do it. Okay, and if you guys have any suggestion or any input you want to give, right, that's also considerable. You guys have a right to do it. So maybe you can just put in the chat section if there is a better way. You can suggest that this is how we can take up the competitive coding questions. So if you guys have any better way, then you can suggest me. Can we do pattern question to practice the 2D arrays? Actually, that was in the plan, right? So what I am thinking is we can discuss the 2D arrays question as well, right? Gradually, we can take it to the DP level as well. That's what I'm planning. So first we'll take up with the easy questions, because the DP is all about, most of the DP questions, if we see, that depends on the 2D arrays. So that's the plan is still in the pipeline. Any other question, any other specific type? Okay, correct. It's easy for me to increase the level, but if you have a look at the class strength, right, we have around 170 plus class strength, right? So it would be difficult for the majorly for the EC people. It gets difficult to understand at the first sight, right? So maybe we can take a couple of questions in a class which should be on the higher side, right? So it's nowhere lows for the anyone, right? Okay, okay, taken. Any other suggestions, guys, or any other things you feel that we are missing out? We can do it in a better way. And if there is someone who is struggling with the concept, maybe he can also come with a solution that, okay, this is the way I can get it better. Correct, correct. We will discuss the tough questions as well, right? We surely discuss the tough questions as well, right? But we are not going to directly jump onto the tough question. That's what I'm trying to cover the basics first, so that if everyone will be on the same page, it will be easy for me to explain, and it will be easy for those to understand the questions as well, right? Okay. Correct. I do understand the company's problem, right? They do ask on the tougher side, right? Even we haven't reached to the level yet. Uh, I haven't taken the any tough questions, but if you remember, we have done a session on the hack with Infi. That's time we have taken the tough questions as well, right? So gradually we'll do that, right? So that everyone will understand, and after that, because if we directly jump onto that, still we'll be on the same page, still will not be on the same page, right? We have to take all the students on the same page, and then we can discuss the tough questions. Okay, okay, thank you for the suggestions. I really appreciate it that you guys are participating. Okay, thank you guys. Let's catch up tomorrow.